What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Thursday installment of Countdown Scouting Network. I got these polos made, so I'm rocking it. Uh, Thought they were pretty cool. I'm very happy and satisfied with them. So I just want to kind of show that off a little bit. Um, Today's episode, we have day 3 offensive sleepers from the NFL draft. Everyone knows about the first round names, some of the second round names, especially since we've been doing mock draft Mondays every single week. So I decided it's time to give some of these day 3 sleepers a little bit of love. So I'm excited for it. These are some of my favorite guys in the draft. There's probably about 40 offensive guys that I really, really love for day 3 that I could have put in here. I decided to narrow it down to 7. I think it was 6 offensive guys, and then 1 special teamer, but I wanted to include him today so I can include another special teamer next week for the defensive sleepers. So, um, yeah, I only have 7 of them. There were some guys that aren't on this list that I really, really like James Cook. Ty Chandler is another one. Both running backs. James Cook's from Georgia. Ty Chandler was from Tennessee, transferred to North Carolina, played his last year there. Cole Strange from Chattanooga, interior offensive lineman type of guy. Hassan Haskins, who I just finished scouting him today. He was one of the 3 guys that I said that I was gonna scout. Abram Smith from Baylor, Hassan Haskins from Michigan, and I don't remember who the third guy was, either Jerome Ford or someone else. I know it was supposed to be a bruiser. I don't remember who it was. I'll have to look back. I have it in my notes to do it. But I reviewed Hassan Haskins. I really like him as a. I think he'll probably go in the 5th round. I think he could be good depending. So here, I'll go ahead before we get into things. I know I like to ramble at the very beginning of these. That's like kind of my favorite part. I'll go ahead and kind of break down the scouting, break down his scouting report. I haven't put it together. I just was taking notes from it. So I'll just go through my notes. It might not sound like it might kind of sound confusing because it's just a bunch of random things that I just put together while watching the film. But I watched 4 of his games. I watched the Nebraska one from this year, Penn State from this year, Wisconsin, and Ohio State. So those were the 4 games that I watched. I said he kind of gave me Malcolm Brown, Isaiah Crowell vibes. Dog, first thing you see on tape is his heart and his want to on every single snap until the whistle. Always looking for an extra guy to hit. Willing pass blocker, but I didn't see him very much on third downs. Thought it was weird. Loves chopping ribs against edge rushers. So helping out on just kind of banging up on the edge rushers as they're flying off the edge on pass plays, helping out that tackle a little. He put in the 4 games I watched. He put probably 3 defensive ends just on their butts through the 4 games just by doing that, and a bunch of other solid hits that took them off their rhythm. So I really like that. He's got adequate burst, always keeps his feet moving. When he gets to top speed, he's nearly impossible to take down. Doesn't run as angrily as I would hope. Could be more patient. Usually hits first hole in the direction that he's running, so he doesn't cut back very often, which is okay. But it's also nice to kind of see that vision where you can see a hole developing behind you and you can make a quick cut and shoot through the gap. Has fine hands, I guess. They didn't really pass to him very much. I think he caught 7 passes in the 4 games that I watched, which isn't bad, but there was 1 game with 0, 1 game with 2 games with 1, and then the other game he had 5 pass catches. Still don't know why they don't use him very much on third down because he made fine catches. He is a good pass blocker. I think he is, for a rookie coming into the NFL, he's going to be an above average pass blocker. He still kind of lunges a little too much, but when a linebacker comes blitzing through, he usually holds his own. I said he also won't make a lot of dudes miss in the open field. So I think he can fit in most schemes. I see him being a number 2 running back and kind of a goal line power back. He's 6'1.5", 225 pounds. He's not a burner by any means. Oh, hey, buddy. He's not a burner by any means, but I really enjoy his tape. He's one of those guys that you don't really think is doing much in a game, and next thing you know, you look at the box score and you're like, what the heck? He carried it 20 times for 110 yards just because it's 3 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards, and he's just banging it on you. And next thing you know, he's carried it 20 times for 100-something yards, and that happened in 2 of the games that I watched. The other 2, blocking needed to be a little bit better, but all in all, I think he's going to be a nice RB2. I could see him going to a wide zone scheme. I think he has enough burst for it, just barely to be that number 2 guy. I also think he can fit in a gap power as well. So I could see him going to the Dolphins, one of their picks being a power back for them. I could see him going to the Baltimore Ravens and being a nice number 2, maybe taking over that Gus Edwards role behind J.K. Dobbins. I could really see him going anywhere. Tennessee being a nice, taking a little bit of the carries off of an aging Derrick Henry. So I could see him doing a lot of things, and I think he'll succeed anywhere. So I wish I could have put him in here. I just didn't have him scouted until today. So that's that breakdown. Let's go into a little bit more NFL news. My cats are sniffing. So I got a glass of whiskey today. This is Knob Creek Smoked Maple small batch. It's very good. It's very sweet. Got a nice maple syrup flavor to it, so I like it. Shout out to Brandon for getting this for me. I appreciate it. So you'll see me sip on that through this. So 3 weeks until the draft. We will do mock draft Monday all the way up until the draft. I think the week of the draft, I am going to do a 7-round mock split up into 3 days. So Monday will be round 1 and 2. Tuesday will be added on to that 3 and 4. Wednesday will be 5, 6, and 7. And then, of course, Thursday is the draft, and we won't go live on Thursday. So that's kind of why I'm doing that. I won't be live on Thursday. And then after the draft, we're going to go back to only doing one podcast a week. So, and that'll probably just be just NFL news on top of maybe breaking down another prospect here and there. So it'll be kind of dead, I would say, for the first couple weeks after the NFL draft. So just want to let you guys know that there will be a little bit of a slowdown. USFL starts next weekend. You'll see a couple guys from the USFL make an NFL roster probably the year after, maybe 2 years after, like you did with PJ Walker for Carolina. He was a quarterback for the XFL. You see a bunch of guys that end up making an NFL roster after this. So I do like that league, and I think if you like football, it's something to pay attention to, especially because you might find some guys that will end up on your favorite NFL team. So Stephon Diggs got paid, so good for him. The next guy is probably Cooper Kupp. I don't think he will get paid, though. I think he's happy making the 14, 13 million, whatever he's making right now, being on an NFL team that doesn't really have cap room. So they'll probably make another run at the Super Bowl, and I think he's happy with that. So the Saints, the more I've been thinking about it, there's probably 3 things they can do, 2 things that I really think that they will do. So when they first traded for that first round pick, I was thinking they just traded up to get a tackle, and then they can stay back and get a wide receiver with that second pick. The more I think about it and the more I kind of listen to things, it might be like they're trading up for a quarterback. So I could see both of those. I'm probably thinking about 35% trading up for a quarterback, 40% staying put and getting 2 guys. And then what would that be? 25%? Is that what's left over of them just doing something random? But it's interesting. It's something to think about. That if they trade up, I would think the Texans might want to trade back and accumulate some more draft picks, trade back from 3. So now you have 13, 16, and 19 with a team that really has a bunch of holes. So that's something to think of. There's other guys that could trade back, but I don't know. It's going to be an interesting draft. I just feel that. I think it's going to be not what we're expecting, especially with no one knowing where these quarterbacks are going to go. Last thing I want to bring up, because I think the news will probably hit in the next few days, I would imagine. Deebo Samuel took all his San Francisco 49ers stuff off his Instagram page. A lot of guys are doing that nowadays when they want to get paid. So I don't make too much of it, other than the fact that a couple of my sources for the 49ers, which usually when I say that I have, when I say my sources, it's usually John Middlecoff, ex-NFL scout, and Guy Haberman. They do a podcast and they talk about that stuff. They've got connections at a lot of NFL teams, but mostly the 49ers. So they were talking about it probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, talking about how there's a chance Deebo gets moved. They're hearing rumblings about trade talks going on even before all this stuff happened. So I think yesterday Deebo took his stuff off. So it is interesting. I don't know if he gets traded. I don't see why they would. I think he's 26 years old, so he's a little bit older. But he's a dynamic offensive weapon. You're about to have a new rookie quarterback in there. I don't know why you wouldn't just pay him. So they could still just pay him. I understand that I guess my PC was messing up a little bit, but I'm back. So there's a couple teams he could go to. I keep hearing the Miami Dolphins as one of the bigger ones. I think it would be crazy because they have Jalen Waddle, who eventually they're going to have to pay in about 3 years. They just paid Tyreek Hill a huge, $30 million a year contract. They'd bring in Deebo Samuel and then have to pay him probably between 20 and 25 million, I'd imagine. I think it would make the offense ridiculous. And they do right now. They have the cap space to do it, but there's some guys coming up on contracts like Christian Wilkins and Mike Gesicki's on a tag right now, and a couple other guys that you're going to want to pay, and you just don't want to get yourself in a bad cap situation. On the other hand, a memo did come out about the Brian Flores lawsuit, and the league might be coming for some picks. They have 2 first-rounders next year. Maybe they say, hey, we'll trade you both of those first-rounders for Deebo and a 5th or something like that. I could see that happening just so the league can't take their first-round picks. I think that'd be smart, an asset that you know of right now. Then hope that next year you can trade up and get a quarterback if 2 is not it. There's always answers to trading up. You can always trade some of these people if you need to get up to get a quarterback. I think you do put yourself in a little bit of a sticky situation, but right now they're kind of in a sticky situation, not knowing if the league's going to take these picks. So I could see it happening, and I think if something's going to happen, either they're going to pay him or they're going to trade him in the next 2 weeks, so before the draft, because I think they're going to want to get assets for this draft. If not, obviously next draft someone's going to overpay for it. So we'll see. It's going to get interesting. That is all I have for that. So let's go ahead and get into this offensive day 3 sleepers. There we go. I will share my screen. I actually ended up making, you guys will be very proud, I ended up making a PowerPoint. So go easy on me. Here's the PowerPoint. Let's start the slideshow. No, thank you. From the beginning. All right. Still on the screen. Yeah, we'll do this. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, the first guy, whoops, I don't think I'm in slideshow anymore. Yes, resume. Okay. So the first guy we're going to talk about is E.J. Perry. He's the quarterback from Brown. He really didn't show up onto people's radar until he impressed at the Shrine Bowl. So he got invited to the Shrine Bowl, which is in Las Vegas, and he ended up playing for the entire second half, threw for 250 yards and 3 passing touchdowns in the second half. A bunch of teams were liking that. He kind of can move around. Obviously, he's not going to be like a Lamar Jackson or even a Josh Allen. But he can move around a little bit. He's kind of got like that Trevor Lawrence, that Trevor where he can, if you leave the field, he'll go ahead and get himself another 7 yards. So he impressed there. He's 24 years old, so he is a little bit older. He's only 6'1" 5/8". That's what 6'0" 15" means. 211 pounds. His hands are 5 inches, so he's just at that threshold. But he had a nice RAS of 9.42. So let me pull up. I took a picture of his RAS just so I could talk about it. So really what's bringing down his RAS is that he's only 6'1" 5/8" and 210 pounds. So those both scored as 3s out of 10. But his 40 was a 4.65. His 10-yard split a 1.58. Those are both 9s and 9.7s. His 3-cone and his shuttle were really, really good in the elite category. So was his broad and vertical. So he was more athletic than people really thought he was going to be, and he's shooting up draft boards, especially at the combine. He threw pretty well. His arm's not the strongest, but he threw with a little bit of velocity, and also, of course, he was picking up trash on the sideline after. So, the NFL GMs and coaches love that stuff. So he's someone shooting up draft boards. I still don't think he'll go, if he goes in the 5th round, I think that's crazy. I think he's more of a mid-6th round type guy. But I think he could end up being like a Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of journeyman type guy, or maybe just like a Chase Daniels where he's just a backup for a while, but a solid asset to a team. So next guy, this guy, Alec Lindstrom, interior offensive lineman from Boston College. He's a center, really. I don't know why he's not getting more buzz. I know he has some snapping issues. He's also under 300 pounds, so that takes him off some people's draft boards. But he had a really nice RAS of 8.37. His 10-yard split was really, really elite. 1.74 is extremely athletic, extremely quick, twitchy. And I think he's going to do really well in the NFL. I think he's probably a 4th-round guy. I think he's probably an early 4th-round guy, right after pick 100 type stuff. And I really like him. I think he can step in as a 4th-rounder. I think he can step in and be a day 1 starter at center for someone. He has a really good understanding of pass protection, and he's a pretty good leader from what I've heard. So I'm excited. He has good leverage and run blocking, and he also is pretty good moving up to the 2nd level on that kind of stuff too. So getting after linebackers, if not, he'll be a really good, swing guard, tackle, guard and center between left guard, center, and right guard. So a nice addition to any offense, really. The next guy, this one's kind of I added him on here just because I'm interested in him as a prospect. I'm not sure how well he'll translate to the NFL. He could end up being like a Stephon Diggs type, where in the 5th round he goes, and next thing you know, he's really, really good. Or he could end up being like a Jamon Moore, where he goes to Green Bay as a late round guy and just doesn't do anything after 2 years he's off. So I put him on here just because I'm really interested in him as a prospect, and I want to see how he grows. He was at Western Kentucky with Bailey Zappi, and he was actually at whatever the first school was Bailey Zappi was at. They both were there, and then they both transferred to Western Kentucky. So he's been with him for the past 4 years, and he's 5'9", 195 pounds. He wasn't invited to the combine. I don't have his RAS numbers from his pro day, but apparently some NFL scouts clocked him at 4.49, which is good speed. His vertical was also rumored So again, I should put an asterisk behind that number, but it was rumored to be 40 inches, which if that's true, I mean, it's ridiculous numbers, especially for being 5'9". So he's just explosive. He put up a lot of receiving yards and a lot of yards after the catch at Western Kentucky. Again, it is a lower level school, but it's still Division I. I think he's 9th round undrafted free agent type. If he went up in the 5th round, I would be very surprised. I would be very, very surprised. Another guy, which this one, I think I'm cheating a little bit by putting him in here, but this is my guy, so I got to give him love, is Pierre Strong Jr., running back from South Dakota State. This guy has legitimate speed, vision, quickness, and power. This is everything you want in a running back. Everyone talks about Breece Hall. They talk about Kenny Walker. Guy is up there with that group. He's going to end up being, he might be a third round pick, probably a late 3rd round. I'm cheating a little bit by having him in day 2, but I think most likely he's going to be an early, between pick 100 to pick 115 running back, and he is this year's my guy. So I usually take one running back in every class that's not projected to go in the 1st round or 2nd round, and it's my guy. I've been doing it for the past couple years. Last year it was Elijah Mitchell, went in the 6th round to San Francisco, and you guys already know how that went. Played really well, outplayed 3rd round pick Trey Sermon. The year before that was Antonio Gibson from Memphis, ended up going in the 3rd round to the Washington Commanders. I got to get used to that name change. Went to the Washington Commanders and has been really good for them as well. I think he's starting to come in his own too, so I think he's just going to get better and better. The year before that, I think was Durham. Was a little bit of the Kansas City Chiefs, but he's not getting any playing time. So, but still, I have a pretty good track record, and I think that I think he's going to be really good, especially in a wide zone system. I think he can play in between the tackles, but at 5'11", 200 pounds, and the speed he has, you really want to get him to the outside. His RAS score 9.32, really, really good. His shuttle time is kind of mediocre as well, actually. If I'm going to be 100% honest, I think it's about a 6.5 on the RAS metrics. Really wanted to be above. I think he's going to be really good. He's got hands. He's got really good speed. He's got good burst, and he has pretty good power as well. His pass blocking could use some help. He's a willing pass blocker. I just think he needs a little bit more experience being able to understand where he needs to pick up the blitz from. But this is so. All right, we've got 2 more guys, and then our one special team guy. So this one is offensive lineman Max Mitchell from Louisiana. He plays tackle. He plays left tackle. I think he can move into guard, but I think he's more suited as a tackle. I think he'll probably be around a 4th or 5th round pick. This is another early day 3 guy. He had a 1.78 tank and developmental swing tackle. He can play. He can also play inside if you need him to. I think this is a solid backup offensive lineman who, if you have to put in for 4 or 5 game stretch, he's gonna, he's gonna hold his own, and he's not gonna really cost you any games, I would imagine. I think in a couple years he could develop into he could develop into a solid starting tackle. I don't think he's ever going to be one of the best tackles in the league, but I think he can develop into a solid starting tackle. He had some really good offensive line coaches at Louisiana that have gotten some other guys to the league, like Kevin Dotson, who's playing for Pittsburgh, and Robert Hunt, who's playing for Miami. And I think there was another one I'm just not remembering. So Max Mitchell is just the next guy who's going to be able to start in the league from Louisiana. So I do like him, 4th, 5th round guy. There was supposed to be one more guy. I guess I forgot to put him in here. That's my fault. It was a guard prospect. Hold on, I'm gonna have to give him some love. I don't want to forget him. So there we go. Okay. Yeah. So Spencer Burford from UTSA. I think he's more of a guard. He played tackle at UTSA, but I think he's more of a guard. He's big. He's great in the run game. He can move for a big guy as well. So I apologize I don't have his stuff up here, but I really like him. I think he's probably more of a 6th round developmental guy. I don't think he's going to start right away, but I think you give him 2 years just working on his craft, and then I think he can be a really solid offensive lineman. It's kind of like a Ted Karras type, or like a Austin Ryder. Just one of these guys that you can plug into your system, and he's not going to cost you anything. It's not like he's going to be a superstar, but I really do like his projection to the next level after a year or two. So around a 6th round pickup. Next guy, this guy is electric. He was electric at Utah, and I think he will be a 6th, 7th round guy. Probably go to the Patriots because they don't have Gunnar Olszewski anymore. Britton Covey. He's a wide receiver. Doesn't really play too much wide receiver. He's more of a return specialist. He is 25 years old, so he is a little older, but he's 5'8", 170 pounds. He ran a 4.43 at his pro day. But he's a guy that, he returned 2 to the house against Oregon later in the season. In big games, he makes big plays, and he's just an electric return man. I don't really have much more to say about him other than that he's going to end up going to a team, whether it be the Patriots. I feel like for some reason they're going to be the ones to grab him. The Patriots, or really any team. I could think of any team could use a guy like him, other than maybe the Bears because they have Jakeem Grant, and the Rams have Brandon Powell. So other than those two teams, I think any team could use him, and he'd be a tremendous asset. And you're talking about you're using a late 6th, early 7th, or undrafted free agent on this guy. You're talking about $600,000. So not much put towards him, and he could flip the field for you. So that is the last guy I wanted to talk about. We went for 30 minutes, so that is perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to do, was hit a 30-minute podcast today. So I will stop sharing my screen. All right. Well, that is the Thursday podcast. Next Monday, we will be doing a team-specific mock draft Monday, I think. So we'll be going through. My goal is to rapid fire the entire AFC, but most likely we'll probably just get probably the AFC East and the AFC West, something like that. So maybe we'll get all the AFC. That's kind of me hoping. It might be an hour-and-a-half podcast, but we'll do an entire 7-round mock draft as the team, record what it is, and then go to the next team and the next team. I want to do all of them. We might not do all of them. So we'll see. After that, next Thursday, we have the defensive sleepers. I got a couple of those, and I'm very excited about that one as well. So again, thank you guys for stopping by. Go ahead and hit the like button, the subscribe button, and then also hit the bell next to the subscribe button, so it'll give you notifications when we go live, just so you guys can join and you don't miss anything. So appreciate you guys stopping by. I'll see you